In my past life, my best friend abandoned her husband and child for decades, only to come back after my husband had made a name for himself and my stepson had grown up and become successful. I was manipulated my whole life, yet I was the one made out to be the homewrecker. Kong Qing, the only person I've ever truly loved has always been Qing Dai. Because of you, we've already missed out on too many years. I don't want to keep missing out, Mom, no. And Kong Qing, my mom and dad are the ones who truly love each other. If you hadn't taken advantage of the situation back then, my mom would have already made up with my dad, and our family of 3 would have been happy together. I worked myself to the bone for the Bai family for an entire lifetime, and when I was critically ill and bedridden, my dear husband and dear stepson not only signed off on stopping treatment even though the doctor said there was still hope, but also hurled abuse at me. Kong Qing, I was immature back then and left in a fit of anger after arguing with Yunxing. But that's no excuse for you to steal my husband and child while I was gone. But for the sake of our years of sisterhood and how well you've cared for their father and son, I forgive you. Rest easy and go in peace. I'll take your place and take good care of them. He Qing Dai, my best friend from childhood, who grew up with me in the same courtyard back then, it was clearly she who, in a fit of anger before leaving, came to my house and begged me on her knees to help take care of her husband and child back then. It was also by Yunxing who, after his wife left behind a signed divorce paper and ran off for 3 years, took the initiative to tell me he liked me and wanted to build a good life with me. And back then, it was little Bai Nianqing who wrapped his arms around my leg, called me mommy, and begged me not to abandon him. If only they hadn't been there back then, I could have had a husband who loved me, my own child, and a happy little family. Cough, cough, cough. What's going on? What happened to the patient? Why are you stopping us? Let us in now to save them. You're practically playing with people's lives. Don't you get it? The doctors and nurses were blocked outside the ward by the guards Bai Yunxing had brought with him and couldn't get in. What's laughable is that, the final moment of life, the people I devoted my life to, each and every one of them only wished I would die sooner. Complete strangers who had nothing to do with me were fighting for my last glimmer of hope. My chest tightened, my breathing grew weak, and my crimson eyes were fixed on the blissfully happy family standing by the hospital bed. Hatred spread through me as I died with my eyes still open. When my consciousness returned, I had been reborn to the time before everything had happened. 1. Kong Qing, you've been my best friend since we were kids. You'll help me, won't you? It was like a scene from a past life playing out all over again. Standing before me was my bestie, He Qing Dai, in a white dress, with stylish curled hair and the prettiest makeup that was all the rage now. Despite those scarcity-stricken times, her eyes were red-rimmed, tears brimming but not yet falling, as she looked at me with hopeful expectation, waiting for my reassuring answer. In my previous life I had just graduated from college and was waiting for a job assignment. How could I possibly know how to take care of a man and a child? I firmly turned it down. Qing Dai, I'm an unmarried woman, taking care of your husband and child while you're away. I can't afford that kind of reputation. With red-rimmed eyes and tears streaming down her face, she stormed out of my room. Before anyone could even react, she had dropped to her knees at the front gate of my house. She didn't say a word. Only after my family came chasing after her did she stubbornly start banging her head on the ground over and over. My parents asked me what had happened. I was worried about her pride, so I didn't mention outside that she had begged me. Dad mistook it for me bullying He Qing Dai and slapped me in front of everyone. Get in here and explain yourself. Even though Mom felt sorry for me, she had to shoo away the onlookers passing by and urge He Qing Dai to go inside and talk it through slowly, so she had no time to comfort me. Once the door was shut, I explained everything clearly. Qing Dai said she'd heard from her mom and was going to look for her. She asked me to take care of her husband and child. Dad learned that I hadn't bullied He Qing Dai, and the stern look on his face eased a little, but out of concern for He Qing Dai's reputation, he forbade the whole family from explaining it to anyone outside. Back then, on the battlefield, it was a matter of life and death. Old He saved me at the risk of his own life, and later had to retire because of his injuries. Our family will never be able to repay the He family, so no one is to spread this matter. It wouldn't be good for Qing Dai's reputation. He patted my shoulder, his tone a little stiff. You've always been so well behaved since you were little. You can understand Dad, can't you? Not a word about how he had mistaken me for someone else and slapped me. Seeing that her father, as always, was taking her side without reason, He Qing Dai knelt straight down in front of Dad. Uncle, if it weren't for my dad having to retire because of an injury back then, my mom wouldn't have had to go out to work just to keep the family afloat. She wouldn't have disappeared. I want to find her as soon as possible. God knows how much she's suffered all these years, but I can't stop worrying about Yunxing and the child. Please, help me." His forehead, red and raw, struck the hard concrete floor with a thudding impact. After retiring from the military, He Qingdai's father never received proper treatment for his injuries because he was searching for his missing wife, and he was left with lasting after-effects in earlier years. Not long after He Qingdai failed the college entrance exam, he died from a long-term illness that had become too much to bear. Her words brought back memories of his comrades' injuries and deaths, stirring my dad's guilt to the fullest. My dad hurriedly helped the man up. All right, stop bowing. If you hurt yourself, he's going to be heartbroken." Even though Mom and I both disagreed afterward, Dad still stubbornly agreed to He Qingdai's request. But my dad was the district commander, swamped with military duties, so in the end everything still inevitably fell on me. This was the beginning of my tragic life too. Kongqing, why aren't you saying anything? Do you not want to?" When I still didn't answer, He Qingdai anxiously grabbed my shoulders and shook me. Once I came to, I grabbed her arm hard and shot her a ferocious glare, so fierce it startled her into forgetting to even cry out in pain for a moment. What are you looking at me like that for?" With such a terrifying look. As her confidence faltered, even her words came out all jumbled. I had no intention of answering her, which left her utterly stunned. "Ah, it hurts. Kongqing, let go of me already, you're pinching me." Knock. Kongqing, Qingdai, are you okay? Open the door, let's talk it out, don't fight. The room didn't have much soundproofing, and He Qingdai had shouted so loudly that she drew their mother over. I lowered my gaze, suppressing the deep hatred in my eyes, and let go of He Qingdai's hand, allowing events to unfold exactly as they had in my previous life. Before long, a large crowd had gathered at the doorway because of He Qingdai's kowtowing, exactly the same as in my previous life. By the time I had come to terms with the fact that I had been reborn and appeared at the doorway, the place was already packed with people. "Su Kongqing, you'd better explain yourself. What did you do to Qingdai? Why is she kneeling at the door, kowtowing like that?" The uncles and older men who were on good terms with our family hurriedly tried to persuade Dad. "Old Su, talk it out properly. Why are you being so harsh on the child? Kongqing has always been such a well-behaved child. There must be some misunderstanding here. Don't get angry. Ask him what happened first. Kongqing just graduated from college and came back. Can't you rein in that temper of yours? You've scared the child away. When it comes to it, where are you going to cry?" I looked at my father, then at my mother, who was staring at me with an apologetic expression, and roughly understood what had happened. I walked to a spot a little farther from He Qingdai and my parents, closer to the uncles and older men from the compound. I flashed a grateful smile at the uncles who had spoken kindly to me. "Thank you all for believing in me." I glanced at He Qingdai by the door, her forehead already bleeding from how long I'd taken to come out. I felt none of the heartache or guilt from my previous life, only a sense of satisfaction. Under He Qingdai's expectant gaze, I let out a soft laugh and said in a bright, youthful voice, "Nothing much. He Qingdai wants to leave here and wants me to go be her husband's second wife and her son's stepmother." Under everyone's shocked, astonished gazes, He Qingdai no longer had time to keep up her act as a pitiful, stubborn little white lotus. She hastily got to her feet and stumbled toward me, crying, I didn't, don't make things up." At Dad's cue, Mom quickly stepped forward to steady He Qingdai's unsteady body. "Careful." Dad shot me a warning look. "Su Kongqing, how can you go around saying things like that outside? Apologize to Qingdai right now." I dodged my father's hand as he tried to drag me home, and said loudly, "I'm not talking nonsense. Su Qingdai and Bai Yunxing only just filed the paperwork yesterday and got their divorce certificate. If you don't believe me, go ask them." He Qingdai looked at me in shock and blurted out, "Why? How do you know that?" She had clearly already asked everyone in the know to keep it a secret, ostensibly, for the child's sake. They were really trying to create an information gap, smear my reputation, and lay the groundwork for He Qingdai's return at any moment. 3. In my previous life, after I married Bai Yunxing, all sorts of rumors started spreading through the compound. "Oh, I heard that when Captain Bai's wife left, the two of them weren't even divorced yet." The moment Xiao He left, Xiao Su started coming over to the Bai family all the time, helping the father and son do this and that. Isn't that just being a homewrecker? Yeah, who would have thought that such a gentle, well-behaved little girl like Xiao Su would actually do something like steal another woman's husband? I heard the wife of Battalion Commander Bai was even her childhood friend. What bad luck, running into someone like that. I'll try to explain it to everyone one by one. I was entrusted by He Qingdai To take care of Bai Yunxing and his son, I never once thought of anything beyond a comradeship with Bai Yunxing. Bai Yunxing was the one who proposed to me when we got married, not me chasing after him relentlessly. When He Qingdai left here 3 years ago, she had already filed for divorce from Bai Yunxing. I had no proof, but no one was willing to believe me, because Bai Yunxing used the excuse that his divorce certificate was lost and couldn't help prove it for me. I couldn't clear my name. He always said, "It's already come to this, the more you explain, the more they'll keep talking, better to just ignore it. After a while, the rumors will die down on their own. We're the ones living our own lives. What does it have to do with anyone else? As long as we're doing well, isn't that better than anything else?" I tried to reach out to my family for help, but my father had swallowed the rumor too and wouldn't even let me through the front door. So from the very beginning, you never wanted to take care of Bai Yunxing and his son. You were setting me up here all along. Tell me, did you deliberately seduce Bai Yunxing because you resented me for helping Qingdai more than I helped you, and make him divorce Qingdai and marry you? No matter how many times I said it, I didn't. Bai Yunxing fell for me on his own and was the one who proposed to me. You ungrateful girl, how dare you talk back? Don't you know Qingdai's father is a benefactor to our whole family? How could you treat her like this and still live with your conscience? Faced with the one who had put me in this impossible position, I couldn't help but say, feeling wronged, "Dad, aren't you at all responsible for this? If you hadn't insisted on forcing me, an unmarried young woman, to take care of Bai Yunxing and his son, how could I have ruined my reputation and gone 3 years without even being able to find a boyfriend? Even if I had really done what you're accusing me of, it would still be your fault." The more I said, the more wronged I felt, and the more wronged I felt, the more resentment I had. In the end, Dad's face had turned as dark as a pot that hadn't been scrubbed in 10 years. He yelled, "I don't have a shameless daughter like you. Get out, get the hell out and never set foot in my Su family again." For thinking back to my previous life, when I was completely played by He Qingdai and her husband, I was furious. Mom and Dad, uncles, and all the elders, look, she's admitted it. Everyone had different expressions as they looked at He Qingdai, and they began whispering among themselves. I only recently saw Xiao He and her husband out and about with their child, and they seemed so happy together. How did they suddenly end up getting divorced? Yeah, they really are a strange couple. What's going on with Bai Yunxing? Doesn't he know the organization is now cracking down hard on officials' personal conduct issues? How can he treat marriage like child's play? Young people really are too reckless. This He Qingdai is just too much. If she couldn't bear to leave her husband and kids, then she shouldn't have gotten divorced. What kind of nonsense is it to force Kong Qing to marry into that family after the divorce? Exactly. I never realized she was this unreliable before. Listening to the people around her whispering, He Qingdai broke down and cried uncontrollably. She mumbled indistinctly, "No, I didn't. Don't go spreading lies." Mom patted her on the back and comforted her softly. "Don't cry. It's okay." Dad glared at me and snapped, "Couldn't you say this at home? Why make such a scene and let everyone know about it? I don't think Qingdai is the one trying to set you up. It's you who's jealous of Qingdai and scheming to ruin her reputation." Watching my father, as always, favoring her and defending He Qingdai even at the expense of the truth, sent a chill straight through me. In my past life, he treated He Qingdai, Bai Yunxing, and their child even better than he treated me. He used the Su family's resources to prop Bai Yunxing up at all costs, and my older brother never received that much help from him in his later years. When he was gravely ill, my mother was frail, and my older brother still harbored resentment. I was the one who took care of everything, but after he died, he left half of his estate to He Qingdai, and the other half to be split between my older brother and my mother. Not a single penny was left to me. He even left behind a final wish. After I die, I don't want that unfilial daughter Su Kongqing attending my funeral. Because of his actions, his comrades, and the soldiers he had trained all came to think I must have done something utterly unforgivable to him, and they kept their distance from me one after another. After that, my promotions in the army became extremely difficult. No one was willing to promote a born troublemaker who was unfilial to her elders. What made it even more serious was that this elder was a former military commander, a highly respected old superior. The real reason was simply that on one of He Qingdai's visits, she deliberately scalded her own hand with boiling water, so she could falsely accuse me of mistreating her. My dad had already been resentful that I refused to return the Bai Yunxing father and son to He Qingdai after she came back, so he simply pinned the blame for He Qingdai's later refusal to visit him on me, the one who had been taking such good care of him. What's laughable is That the person who left behind those last words and that was able to accept my attentive care without a shred of guilt, right up until the very end, I already repaid the debt of gratitude I owe for being raised in my past life. Faced with my father's baseless accusations, I didn't back down at all, and it ended in an ugly scene. As soon as my work assignment was finalized, I applied for a dorm room and moved out of the small courtyard. 5. Ching, Mom knows Dad was wrong last time, but blood is thicker than water. You can't just stop recognizing your parents because of that. A week had passed since that incident, and it had already been 3 days since I moved into the dorm. When I moved out, Dad clearly said, "Now that you think you've grown wings, if you have the guts to move out, then don't ever come back." Mom was standing right there listening, but she didn't try to talk Dad out of it even once. At that thought, my heart gave a faint pang. I lowered my head to drink some water, hiding the emotions in my eyes, and said calmly, "Mom, it's all in the past. I never denied you all. Be good. Once you've calmed down, come home with Mom, okay? What's the point of staying in the dorm all the time?" "No, I'm fine staying in the dorm. It's close to the military hospital, so it's convenient for getting to and from work." Seeing that she couldn't talk me out of it, Mom changed tactics. "Fine, you don't have to move back in, but come home for dinner tonight." I frowned, but before I could say anything, Mom cut me off. "Don't even think about refusing, or I'll go to your supervisor myself and cancel your dorm room." Mom also works at the military hospital, and with a higher rank than mine, she has the authority to pull strings. That threat was definitely not just a joke. I let out a long breath. "Okay." 6. Ching, that's wonderful. You're back. Come in and have a seat. Auntie and your sister-in-law are already cooking. The first people I saw when I walked through the gate were neither my parents nor my brother and sister-in-law. It was the same Ching Dai who, just a week ago, had been loudly insisting that she should hurry and go find her mother, who was out there suffering and enduring hardship. Her tone was so familiar that I almost thought this was her place, and I was the guest. I quickly hid my hand behind my back and took a step back to avoid Ching Dai's approach. I said coldly, "Why haven't you gone to look for your mom yet? What are you doing in my house?" Ching Dai immediately put on a pitiful, bullied, wronged look. "Ching, why are you being so mean? Didn't coming back mean you've already forgiven me?" I frowned toward the kitchen, just in time to catch my mother's eyes as she heard the commotion and came out with a spatula in hand to see what was going on. At such close range, Mom must have heard every word clearly. The way Mom's eyes darted away and flickered under my questioning gaze said it all. "Oh, Ching's back. Come on in and have a seat, Mom, and I only have 2 dishes left to finish, and then we can eat. You sit tight for a bit, it'll be ready in no time." My sister-in-law's voice came from behind Mom. After speaking, she ducked back into the kitchen to keep working. "Ah, right, you girls chat for a while. We'll come out once the dishes are done." Before Mom could pull back, I called out, "Mom, I need to talk to you. Could you come over here for a moment?" Mom was still hesitating when my sister-in-law reached from behind and snatched the spatula from her hand. "Mom, go ahead, I can handle the kitchen by myself. Don't worry." My sister-in-law was a chef at a state-run grand hotel, so preparing a family banquet was more than easy for her. Mom had no reason to argue, so she reluctantly shuffled over to stand in front of me and Ching Dai. "What is it? Does it really have to be said right now?" From my mom, I learned that this family dinner had been arranged by Ching Dai from the very beginning as a way to make peace with me, and she had personally asked Dad to make it happen. For a moment, I could hardly tell whether Dad was my father or Ching Dai's. 7. Ching, don't go. I'm truly sincere about making up with you. I admit it was thoughtless of me to ask you to look after Yunsheng and his son, but you publicly smeared me by saying I wanted to marry you off to Yunsheng and make you a stepmother to Yunsheng. Aren't you in the wrong too? Stop right there. Why don't we both take a step back and patch things up?" After hearing the truth about the family dinner, I turned and left without the slightest hesitation. I wasn't about to waste my time arguing with Ching Dai's nonsense and twisted logic from behind me. Ching, you'd better stop right there. Didn't you hear Ching Dai talking to you? What kind of attitude is that? I looked at the tall figure blocking the doorway and knew full well there was no getting out of here today. A wise person knows better than to go against the tide. "Fine. If that's how you want it," I greeted them coolly. "Dad, brother, you're back." Dad frowned deeply. "All of you, get inside and talk. Don't stand at the door making a spectacle of yourselves." Then he went back into the house first, with that annoying tag-along Ching Dai trailing right behind him. "Uncle, you're back just in time. Dinner's all ready. Let's eat first, then talk." My brother fell a step behind and said softly to me, "It's fine, I've got your back." whatever that old man asks for later. If you're willing to agree, then agree, if not, just refuse. I'll handle it. My nose stung, and I said, in my previous life, my brother said the exact same thing, always standing firmly behind me. It was only in my previous life that I thought I could handle it myself and didn't want to burden him. By the time he found out, it was always too late. Qingdai silently slandered me by kowtowing, making it look like I was bullying her. After my brother found out, he went everywhere explaining things for me. Not only did no one believe me, but I was also punished by the old man and sent on a dangerous secret mission. I nearly didn't make it back alive after I married Bai Yunxing. The gossip and rumors nearly suffocated me, but my brother kept comforting me over and over and helped me pull through. After giving Bai Yunxing a hard beating, they tied him up and forced him to explain to everyone that I had never immorally interfered in his marriage to He Qingdai. After hearing about it, father simply transferred him to the harshest and most dangerous border troops, calling it training, when it was really punishment. So after dad fell seriously ill, knowing that my brother doted on me, everyone kept asking me to have him come back and see father more often, but I never once brought it up with him. I cared for father because I wanted to, and besides, my husband Bai Yunxing was promoted all the way up by father himself. Even though he put me under all kinds of pressure, I still swallowed my pride and took care of her. But why should my brother be the one taking care of him? For the debt of raising and nurturing him he had long since, time and again, sent my brother into the most dangerous situations. Time and again, he credited Bai Yunxing with military honors my brother had earned at the risk of his life. Time and again, he used their father-son bond to force my brother to back down, and whenever he didn't report it, it's all paid back now. 8. In the end, the family dinner still wasn't finished. When He Qingdai was eating the braised pork, she suddenly burst into tears. When I was little, Mom always saved up the meat coupons and used them when Dad came home, going to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy pork and make Dad's favorite braised pork. In the 1960s and 70s, when everything was in short supply, braised pork didn't have much seasoning at all. How good could it possibly taste? What's more, her mother is a bona fide farmer from the countryside. How could her skills possibly compare to her sister-in-law's, who works at a state-run grand hotel? Ridiculous. The only reason she said that was to be a backhanded reminder to Dad. The reason I'm still sitting here instead of going to look for Mom is all because of your daughter, Su Kongqing. Dad immediately slammed down his chopsticks. Su Kongqing, are you blind? Can't you see Qingdai is crying because of you, upset and wronged? Apologize to her right now. I hurriedly swallowed the meal my sister-in-law had made, lingering over the dishes on the table. With a reluctant glance, they looked and smelled wonderful, but they weren't mine to enjoy. My sister-in-law had to take care of the children, so there were never many chances to taste her cooking. Later, I was always on the road with my brother, and even the chance to see her disappeared. And later still, my father and Bai Yunxing stood between my brother and me. It became almost impossible for the two of us to sit down and share a proper meal together. How nostalgic. I gently set down my bowl and chopsticks, stood up, and left my seat. If I'm not welcome here, I'll leave. No need for me to be an eyesore. After saying that, I didn't wait for my father to answer. I turned and walked firmly toward the door. Stop right there. Su Kongqing, did I say you could leave? Do you still have any respect for me as your father? He said those words with such force that if I'd really just graduated from college, or if I were one of his men, my legs would have turned to jelly. But I'm not really in my early 20s, and I'm definitely not one of his men. Seeing that my pace didn't falter at all and my steps remained steady, the furious roar behind me grew even louder. I told you to stop, did you hear me? I pricked up my ears and sharply caught the sound of dishes clinking. Wasting food, and wasting my sister-in-law's hard work, wasn't a good thing. Just as I was hesitating over whether to turn back and take a look, even noisier sounds came from behind me. There was the screech of a chair scraping across the floor. A mother's cry rang out. Old Sue, what are you doing? Stop it now. A brother shouted anxiously. Sis, watch out, get out of the way. A sister-in-law screamed. Ah, blood, so much blood. Then came the sound of footsteps drawing closer. I wanted to turn around and see what was going on, but my head didn't seem to belong to me anymore. I couldn't move it at all. I wanted to ask my brother what I was supposed to hide from, but when I opened my mouth, not even a breath came out. I wanted to remind my sister-in-law not to shout so loudly. It could startle the baby in her belly. That's right. In my past life, after my brother was sent out on a secret mission, my sister-in-law found out she was pregnant. When my brother came back, he was badly injured. If he hadn't known my sister-in-law was expecting, he never would have made it through. But because she worried so much, My little nephew was much friendlier than an average baby when he was born. In this life, I never wanted my brother to go through a life or death moment like that again, and I certainly didn't want my little nephew to suffer through being so weak again. But why were my eyelids so heavy, my hands and feet too? I didn't even have the strength to speak anymore. My body seemed to have lost its skeleton, and I began to feel weightless. Yet I can't do anything about it. Sis, are you okay? Just as I braced for the searing pain of hitting the ground, I was caught in a warm, solid embrace, and a familiar, reassuring scent filled my nose. My lips curved up slightly of their own accord as I let my consciousness sink into the endless darkness. Her serene expression seemed to be telling her brother, "It's okay, brother, I'll be fine, so don't worry." 9. When she woke up again, she was in the hospital, with familiar colleagues keeping watch by her side. "Kongqing, you're finally awake. How are you feeling? Does your head still hurt? Can you talk?" I parted my dry, peeling lips, and the rasp in my throat came out like air squeezed from a broken bellows. What happened to me? My coworker carefully wiped my lips with a moistened cotton swab, then patiently held a straw to my mouth and gave me water from her. I learned that I'd been admitted after hitting the back of my head and had been unconscious for a full day and 2 nights. How could you be so careless? You were just going down the stairs and ended up hitting the back of your head. You almost had to undergo a craniotomy. Do you know that, although I didn't end up having surgery, the blood clot in my brain was still very dangerous, so I needed to rest and be observed for a while. If it was confirmed that my body couldn't absorb it on its own, I'd still end up being taken in for a craniotomy. Qing, you're finally awake. Mom was so worried about you. Mom works at this hospital. As soon as she heard I'd woken up, she dropped everything and rushed over. Seeing the faint dark circles under Mom's eyes, I squeezed the hand she had resting on me, my heart aching for her. I said weakly, "I'm fine, Kongqing, how are you?" "I'm sorry, if it hadn't been for me, Uncle wouldn't have." "Shut up." Mom hurriedly cut off He Qingdai's reckless blurt, but the coworker looked from Mom to He Qingdai, mouth hanging open in shock. Mom quickly sent her away. "Shaoli, go back to work, and remember, you didn't hear a word of what was just said." "Understood." Out of fear of the director, my coworker quickly nodded in agreement and gave me a sympathetic glance before leaving. After that, I said nothing in response to anything Mom asked until Mom took my hand, tears welling in her eyes. "Kongqing, say something. I'm scared." I merely shifted my gaze to He Qingdai beside me and asked flatly, "Why is she here?" My mother's sad mask cracked and fell away piece by piece, revealing the guilt beneath. Her eyes darted around, unable to meet mine. "Qingdai, she just happened to be in my office, so I brought her over to see you." I stared hard at the hospital uniform she was wearing, my brows tightly knit. My head was hurting more and more, so I closed my eyes again. After a while, maybe thinking I'd fallen asleep, I faintly heard the two of them talking beside me. "Qingdai, don't come along next time. Kongqing will be upset if she sees you." "But Auntie, I work here." "Kongqing will find out sooner or later, so it'd be better to tell her sooner. You are not to bring this up in front of Kongqing again. I'll find a chance to tell her myself, understand? Auntie, Kongqing and I are best friends. I'm worried about her." "I already said not to come, so don't come. That's an order, no negotiation." I had a feeling what they were talking about was definitely more than just He Qingdai starting work at the hospital. I wanted to open my eyes and ask, but my eyelids felt as heavy as lead. My weakened body slipped back into unconsciousness. 10. When I woke again, it was already nighttime, and this time my sister-in-law was sitting beside me. "Kongqing, now that you're awake, have some water to soothe your throat before you talk." She must have received the family caregiver training from the nurses. Although my sister-in-law's water-feeding motion was a little clumsy, she was very careful and professional. It wasn't long before, just as I was about to ask what was going on with He Qingdai, 2 tall figures walked in from outside. "Dad, brother, it's good that you're awake," Dad said as he naturally sat down in the nursing chair my sister-in-law had vacated. "Don't just stand there foolishly next time. When you see a porcelain bowl flying at you, don't you know to dodge? Was all that training I gave you when you were kids for nothing?" I never expected Dad to start blaming me without even a single word of apology. With a dark expression, I fixed Dad with a cold stare. Dad seemed a little uncomfortable under my gaze and looked away. "Why are you looking at me like that? Do you have something you want to say, so Dad can feel guilty?" 2. How novel. Sorry, my parents didn't give me eyes in the back of my head. "Why is that how you talk to your father?" I looked at the stubborn old man with a mocking stare, the kind who had spent his whole life refusing to admit he was wrong, and I refused to back down. Seeing that Dad was about to lose his temper again, My brother immediately stepped in front of me, shielding me firmly behind his tall frame. Dad, my sister still hasn't recovered, she needs to rest, and she can't afford to get upset. I couldn't see the look the two of them were exchanging, but from my sister-in-law's anxious expression, like she wanted to step in but didn't dare, it must have been a very intense one. Humph, you two have grown wings and think you're beyond my control now. Do whatever you want, I'm done with you. I'll just pretend I never had you two. When Dad opened the door and left, I vaguely caught a side profile of He Qingdai through the narrow gap in the door that hadn't been fully closed. 11 After Dad left, I took the initiative to ask my brother how He Qingdai had gotten into the hospital. At first, my brother still didn't want to say, but when he saw that I had pretty much figured it out, he finally told me while I was unconscious. My father used his influence without my permission to give the hospital placement the school had assigned to me to He Qingdai. Dad originally came over today intending to tell you himself. A mocking curve tugged at my lips, so he beat me into this state, and even coming to see me was all for He Qingdai. My brother tried to talk me down. Dad is just too sentimental and loyal, he's having trouble seeing things clearly for now. I raised my hand to stop my brother. Brother, I'm tired. I told my brother I was planning to report this as a victim, and he was stunned. Then Dad will probably be disciplined, right? It'll be even harder to move up after that. Heh, brother, have we gotten this far because Dad ever did anything to help us? My brother quickly understood what I meant. After a long silence, he said gravely, are you sure? If we do this, I'm afraid there'll be no turning back. I couldn't move because of my head injury, but I looked at him with determination. I'm sure. Before my brother left, I said, brother, I'm only taking back what was mine to begin with. If Dad breaks the rules once for He Qingdai, he'll be able to break them countless times after that. What we're doing is helping him correct his mistake in time, isn't it? My brother turned back and gave me a long, deep look before nodding firmly. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. After the door closed, I half-lidded my eyes and was just drifting off when the familiar scent of my sister-in-law's cooking drifted into my nose. As the edge of the blanket was gently pulled up, I suddenly woke. My sister-in-law froze for a moment, then continued tucking me in. She looked apologetic. Did I wake you? Sorry, I'll be quieter next time. I'd only started to shake my head when my sister-in-law gently reached out and steadied me. Be careful, you're hurt on the head, and the doctor said you need to keep your head movement to a minimum for the next few days. I lightly placed my hand over my sister-in-law's and looked at her seriously. Sis-in-law, I'm fine, hurry and go get checked in obstetrics. Ah, my sister-in-law looked blank and at a loss, clearly still unaware of her condition. I put on a serious air and rested my hand on her wrist, saying in a mystical tone, I learned a bit of pulse taking when I was in school. You're probably pregnant. My sister-in-law looked puzzled. I've never heard Mom say the medical school even teaches pulse diagnosis. That said, seeing how determined I was, my sister-in-law still went to OBGYN just to put my mind at ease. It turned out she was already 2 months along, and she was so happy that she couldn't stop smiling while taking care of her. 12 My brother acted quickly, and in less than 2 days, someone from the military came to take my statement. As soon as they left, my mother hurried over to ask me what had happened. Those people just now were from your dad's unit, weren't they? What did they come to see you for? My mom had spent years at a military hospital, and my dad wasn't low-ranking either. She still had a good eye for these things. I closed my eyes. Nothing, ignoring the fact that my head injury meant I shouldn't be moved around lightly. Mom grabbed my shoulders and shook me hard. How could it be nothing? Investigators at their level don't get involved in ordinary matters. Tell me, what did they want with you? She shook me so hard I was completely dizzy. If my sister-in-law hadn't come in just in time and called the doctor, I think my brain would have been shaken to a pulp. After that, my sister-in-law simply took extended leave to stay with me at the hospital and made sure no one was ever alone with me again, since he still needed a lot of early pregnancy checkups anyway. My brother arranged for the hospital to add a bed to my private room, and my sister-in-law moved in as well. When Mom went back and found out Dad had been taken away by the investigative department, she pulled every string she could and tried to find out what had happened. But this had been a confidential investigation from the start, so even those who knew a little about the inside story didn't dare tell Mom. But before long, she no longer had to worry about that, because she got involved too and was taken away for questioning. Within 2 days, the matter was resolved. Dad was the ringleader, and Mom was an accomplice. They were each given different levels of punishment. Although his rank didn't change, his military career was stained, and it would be hard for him to advance any further. He Qingdai came out unscathed thanks to Dad's protection, but she lost her job for that. Dad burned through a lot of personal favors, and his own punishment ended up even more severe. After my brother told me, I just gave a faint smile. Serves her right. My brother glanced at the already closed hospital room door and reminded me, be careful, walls have ears, but his expression was full of approval. We exchanged a glance and broke into a tacit, knowing smile at the same time. 13, afraid it would affect him, Yunxing shamelessly went to his superior and got back the marriage report that was still in the approval stage. Chief, I think you're right. Marriage is something to take seriously. I've just gotten divorced, so if I remarry, I need to be even more cautious. The chief's expression was one of utter, hard to describe complexity. Although Yunxing hadn't spelled out the real reason for the quick divorce and remarriage, he only said they split because of personality differences and decided to try again for the sake of the child and a complete family. But the leader wasn't foolish either. After the marriage, how many benefits did he get from my father by way of He Qingdai's connections, and how much special treatment did he receive that he never should have had? Not long ago, what I said at the entrance of my parents' courtyard has now basically spread throughout the upper ranks of the entire military district. When they failed to scheme against me, his own biological daughter, the couple immediately got back together. At least don't make such an ugly scene of it. When leader Yunxing came to visit me, he deliberately told me this whole story and then summed it up. Kongqing, you were right to blow this up back then. Otherwise, with your dad being the type who can't even tell his own kid apart, who knows? Never mind, just get some rest and recover properly. I'm only saying this casually, take it as a bit of a joke. Thank you, uncle. 14, as soon as our parents came out, they started searching the compound for my older brother. In Dad's hand was the riding crop he had used during the war, and after peace returned, he kept it specifically to discipline my brother and me. Mom wasn't carrying anything, but her expression was hardly any better than Dad's. My brother was whipped dozens of times in front of everyone by Dad, and in the end it was the uncles in the compound, who couldn't bear to watch anymore, who stepped in and took him to the hospital. The private room I was staying in was simply turned into a triple room. My sister-in-law didn't have much morning sickness, so we put the bed in the middle and had one person look after the two of us, my brother and me. When I was alone with my brother, I asked him, brother, do you resent Dad? He's always putting you down, and he even took your military honors and gave them to Yunxing. My brother was lying face down. At my words, he lifted his head and looked at me. A real man sheds blood, not tears. Looking into his eyes, I could feel a deep, unshakable sorrow. My nose stung, and I almost wanted to cry for him. My brother just said calmly, it used to be weird, but after the materials were submitted, it wasn't weird anymore. Why, I'm about to take back what he took from me. Then aren't you sad? I used to be, but not anymore. I was at fault too. I shouldn't have put up with it just because he was my father. You're right, if we point out his mistakes, he won't have the chance to make even bigger ones. If I hadn't kept swallowing my pride all this time, Dad wouldn't have ended up like this today, and he wouldn't have even set his sights on you, brother. This isn't your fault. Sis, I'm not upset anymore. So you're not allowed to be upset either. When his wife came back and saw the two of them, separated by a single bed, both crying their eyes out with tear-streaked faces, she soothed one and then the other, and the ward was suddenly buzzing with activity. Oh, come on, you're adults, why are you still bawling together? Is this really how you're doing prenatal education for the baby? It had us laughing so hard we were snorting, while the tears just kept streaming down. 15. The charge of falsely claiming military honors was even more serious, and since it involved senior military officers, the investigation was conducted even more covertly and much more slowly. The day my brother was finally able to stand up on his own by holding onto the bed, Mom and Dad came to see us. My sister-in-law was politely asked out by Dad's bodyguard, leaving just the four of us in the hospital room. My brother and I were both on edge. My brother quietly took the seat next to me, putting me between himself and our parents. His eyes had already swept over the thermos by the bed several times. I noticed because I had originally wanted that kettle too. After noticing my brother's expression, I shifted my target to all the small items on the bedside table that could be grabbed and tossed at a moment's notice. Come on, tell us, whose idea was it, and why did someone leak the fact that we arranged a job for Qingdai? My dad's voice carried an air of authority even without anger, and it was far calmer than the day he scolded my brother. Those uncles in the compound must have spent the past few days trying to talk him out of it. Kids grow up, and you can't keep beating them all the time. Hearing that, My brother and I both let out a huge sigh of relief as long as it wasn't about us mixing him up with someone else and helping Bai Yunqing falsely claim military merit. That was fine, I spoke up first, my tone calm. Dad, that was my job in the first place. You didn't think about how I'd feel when you gave away my job opportunity, so what? Gives you the right to question me now? So that was your idea? I could feel his anger, but I still said firmly, that's right, I want justice, you ungrateful daughter. He's a benefactor to our family. Stubborn old man, your savior is already dead. He Qing Dai is not the one who saved you back then. She's Lao He's only child. If I don't look after her, how can I face Lao He after I die? Dad, when Uncle He was alive, didn't you already give him enough? Everything you owed him has long been paid back. Damn it, how did I end up with a heartless bastard like you? I'm going to beat you to death today, old man. How can I be this unlucky, stuck with a father as clueless as you? If you dare lay a hand on me today, I'll go to the army and report you for murdering your own daughter. The blood clot in my brain still hasn't passed the danger period. If Dad touches me now, he's killing me. There isn't a single ounce of exaggeration in that. Even if I die, I still have my brother. Dad isn't getting away. I'll beat you to death. Dad, calm down. If you want to hit someone, hit me. I agreed to this, and I'm the older brother, so I should be the one to take the blame first, knowing he couldn't win, and that he could never lay a hand on his father. His older brother simply took all the blame onto himself. I shot a look at his bent back, like even standing up was a struggle, and yelled, old man, if there's anyone to blame or anyone to settle the score with, it's me. I did this. If you've got the guts, come at me. I'd like to see just how far you'd go for the daughter of a comrade who has no blood relation to you at all. In no time, the hospital room was complete chaos. I hurled fruit, glass cups, and pillows at Dad, grabbing whatever I could and throwing it. My brother grabbed the electric kettle and stood in front of Dad, blocking him from getting near me. Maybe she was too enraged. When Mom saw Dad raise his hand as if to hit the two of us disabled kids, she just looked on coldly. 16, knock, knock, knock. There was a polite knock at the hospital room door. Hearing the sound, I used what little strength I had left to cry out, help, help me. The hospital room door was kicked open, and several officers in sharp military uniforms appeared in the doorway. My father was a robust, uninjured active-duty senior officer, while the two of us were weak patients. They quickly assessed the situation and forcibly restrained Dad. Dad never expected them to dare lay a hand on him. In the blink of an eye, before he even had time to react, he was already under control, something that hadn't happened in years. Once he came to his senses, Dad began struggling violently. Let me go. Don't you know who I am? How dare you touch me? Unexpectedly, they only tightened their grip on Dad. Of course we know, you're suspected of falsifying military merits, deception and fraud, and abusing your office for personal gain. We're here to take you in for questioning. As soon as my brother and I heard that, we finally felt completely relieved. The fact that they could say it right in front of us meant they had pretty much finished their investigation after Dad was taken away. Mom, after all, the one who had raised us from childhood, quickly caught on from our reactions that something was off. With trembling fingers, she pointed at the two of us in disbelief and demanded an explanation. You did this again. Once the findings were released, there was no keeping this under wraps. So we just tacitly admitted it. How could you do this? He's your own father. What do you stand to gain from this? I pressed my lips together and looked at my mother seriously. Then what did my brother do wrong? On what grounds did Dad just give away his military merit, the one he earned with his life? Su Kongqing, your father is right. You really are here to collect a debt. I truly regret raising you with my own hands, you devil. My heart turned cold. So Mom had only been hiding behind Dad all along. So she was the same kind of person as him. I gave a cold laugh. Is that so? Then Mother had better watch herself from now on. Maybe he'll be next. Mom fled my hospital room in a panic, not even stopping to pick up the high heel she'd lost. After the war ended, the commander's wife, who had carried herself with grace for so many years, felt that old familiar panic in her chest once again. 17, Su Kongqing. How could you be so cruel? You sent Dad and Yunqing in together. I'm flattered, but you're the one who's ruthless. Stealing my brother's military merits and handing them over to your useless husband is one thing. Trying to trick me into becoming a stepmother to your son didn't work, and now you're even trying to use my parents to take my job away. So what? Your brother has your parents backing him. Losing a few military merits won't kill him with your parents around. You won't starve even if you don't have a job. Besides, Yunqing is so wonderful and Nianqing is so well behaved. I'm giving them to you. And instead of secretly rejoicing, you've got the nerve to be unhappy about it. Ha ha ha, you're really something, aren't you? As I pulled the cloth off the bedside table, I pressed the stop button on the cassette recorder that was still running. Hey, come in, she called loudly toward the door. Qingdai frowned at the tape recorder. My dad had always treated her well, and her family had one just like it. Su Qing. You actually dared to record this. With that, she lunged forward to snatch the tape recorder, but my brother shoved her to the ground in one move. My cheek scraped against the rough ground, leaving a raw red abrasion. I calmly took the cassette out of the recorder and handed it to the investigators who came in behind me. Qingdai has already admitted she took part in stealing my brother's military merits and taking my job. This is evidence. Please keep it safe. Thank you very much for your cooperation, Comrade Su. We will not let a single person involved get away with this. 18. By the time the investigation results came out, Dad was already at that age, so switching careers was unrealistic. He was forced to proactively apply for early retirement. After Bai Yunxing was removed from his post by the military, he was treated as a demobilized soldier, and both he and Qingdai could face prison time, but Dad was still doing everything he could to pull strings for them, and what the outcome would be remained uncertain. My brother's military achievements were once again recognized by the organization, but because he had helped my father conceal that matter, the army temporarily put his promotion on hold. On the same day, the doctor told me, the blood clot in your brain is pressing on a nerve, and I recommend a craniotomy. Besides, I graduated with a degree in medicine myself. Even though I lacked clinical experience, I still had a solid medical foundation. I didn't voice any objections on the surface, but in private I asked my brother to take me to 2 other hospitals for re-examination on the day of the surgery. After the anesthetic was pushed in and before my consciousness completely faded, my mother, the one who had no business being there, showed up in the operating room with Qingdai. Prepare for surgery. My eyes were already too heavy to open, but I knew it was my mother's voice. Are you sure? After all, there's no precedent in this country for a surgery that treats mental illness by removing the frontal lobe, but Comrade Su is your biological daughter. And this surgery is so risky. That was the surgeon's voice. Come on, if something goes wrong, you won't be held responsible anyway, so what are you afraid of? Auntie is both the biological mother and the lead surgeon, and she hasn't said a word. What right do you have to say anything? That was Qingdai's voice. The arguing went on for a while until the anesthesiologist said the surgery could begin, and then it stopped just as I felt the cold scalpel nearly touching my scalp. The lead surgeon suddenly shouted, I'm not taking part in this surgery. This is way too unscrupulous. Hey, how can you be this irresponsible? Come back here. Forget it. If he won't take part, he won't. Let's keep going. The lead surgeon opened the operating room door but never made it out. A group of people came in, subdued all the doctors and nurses, and escorted them away. They gave me anesthesia at the highest allowable dose, and by the time I came to, it was already the next day. My brother looked at me with a grave, sorrowful expression. Mom has been accused of assault, lost her rank, and could even face prison time. Qingdai bribed an assistant doctor, determined to make sure you never woke up after the craniotomy. They were all charged with murder. When Dad heard about it, he stopped worrying about Bai Yunxing. It was a certainty that Bai Yunxing would go to prison, and when he got out in the future, he'd be a convicted criminal. Seeing that I had no reaction, my brother comforted me carefully. Sis, don't be sad. Mom just had a moment of confusion. She didn't mean to make you die. I nodded, feeling dizzy. She touched her bare scalp and said sadly, it's okay, I can live with it. The only thing worrying me now is how long it'll take for my hair to grow back. My brother forced back the tears welling in his eyes, rubbed my big bald head, and said with a grin, feels pretty good. This works too. I shot him an aggrieved look. There was nothing I could do. I was just a weak patient now, not even in the mood to throw him a glare. 19. I've recovered well, and I never had surgery. By the time I was discharged, my hair was about as short as a tomboy's. Everyone has already paid the price they were due. After leaving the army, Dad lived alone. Mom was diagnosed with a mental disorder. She wouldn't go to prison, but she would spend the rest of her life in a psychiatric hospital. Qingdai and the doctor she bribed were sentenced to death. The doctors and nurses involved in that operation were all fired from the hospital and would never be rehired. Bai Yunxing ended up in prison, and his future was completely ruined. In my past life, Bai Yunxing, that ungrateful stepson, was sent back to his grandparents in the countryside. I heard they wouldn't even let him go to school, and the other kids in the village often bullied him. My brother and I both had smooth careers, and my sister-in-law gave birth to a healthy baby boy the next year, but the 4 of us Rarely went to visit mom and dad. The year my little nephew was born, dad showed up at the hospital on his own and brought a thick red envelope. In less than a year, nearly half his hair had turned white. He looked unwell too, and had aged a great deal under our wary gazes. He found a seat, let out a sigh, and began speaking to himself. I was seriously ill not long ago, and I had a strange dream. His dream strangely overlapped with memories from my past life, but I gave nothing away, I could tell. He was watching my expression closely. After all, every event that diverged from the dream had been orchestrated by me, so it was only natural that he would suspect me. He didn't pick up on a thing, and lowered his eyes in disappointment as soon as he finished speaking. My brother hurriedly started shooing him out. Are you done? If so, please leave, the child needs to rest. Dad gave us a long, deep look, then braced his hands on his knees and slowly struggled to his feet, looking at us in disappointment as we stood there unmoved. He said, I am your father, after all, come see me when you have time. After hearing my brother and me give two half-hearted responses, I could clearly see the old man's perpetually straight back slump a little, sigh. With a heavy sigh, he still went off on his own. His figure looked bleak and lonely. Later, after my mother passed away, my brother and I personally brought her out for cremation and burial. Later still, the old man passed away and left all his inheritance to my brother and me. We quietly handled the funeral arrangements, buried him together with my mother, and gave away every last cent to the country. 20 years later, I was out shopping with my daughter when we came across a scruffy, one-legged vagrant sitting by the roadside, clutching his stomach. Feeling sorry for him, my daughter got my permission and handed him an untouched meat bun. Uncle, this is for you. The vagrant wolfed it down, but when he looked up at us, his eyes were greedy, with no trace of gratitude. I stepped back with my daughter, but the moment he saw my face clearly, his expression changed instantly to shock. He dropped the meat bun he had just been cherishing, swept the hair from his brow with one hand, and rushed over excitedly, reaching out to grab me. Kongqing, it's me, Yunxing. We were supposed to be a very happy married couple. I was wrong in our last life. Please come back, okay? I studied him for a moment with a frown and recognized him as Bai Yunxing. Once I confirmed that he'd regained his memory too, I stopped backing away. As he happily came closer, I kicked him in the stomach. Get lost, I don't know you. Bai Yunxing was far too weak. He lay on the ground vomiting for a long time before he could even get back up. I seized the chance to pick up my daughter and quickly left. Once I was sure he couldn't hear us, my daughter leaned in close to my ear and asked softly, Mom, who is that uncle? How does he know your name? I patted the soft crown of her head. Don't worry about him, he's nobody important. Sweetheart, were you scared? No. As we passed the corner, I took one last look at Bai Yunxing. In the shadows of the building, he dragged himself with all his strength in the direction I had gone, writhing and squirming like a dark, twisted maggot. And there I was, holding my daughter, standing in the bright sunlight. It felt as though he and I were in completely different worlds. He mouthed the words, serves you right, don't ever see you again. I left with my daughter in my arms without a second thought, and never went shopping in that neighborhood again. The end. Story 2. Everyone knew that I was crazy in love with Yi Yunzhou. Whatever resources he wanted, I provided. Whenever he wanted to play the lead role, I helped him snatch it. I used every means to make him a best actor, yet he was constantly involved in scandals. And there was even an explosive rumor of him sleeping with his fans. I just smiled and helped him solve all the troubles. Until one day, Jiang Xiaowei got too carried away with him, and her fingernails scratched Yi Yunzhou's face. I took back all the resources I had given him within one night. He cried and questioned me. You've never loved me, have you? I looked at the scar on his face with pity and said playfully, your appearance is no longer the same as his. How can I love you? That night, when I went to the film set to visit, I happened to see Yi Yunzhou and Jiang Xiaowei entangled together. Jiang Xiaowei was a current leading actress, and she and Yi Yunzhou were a screen couple. They were inseparable both on and off the set. Jiang Xiaowei lay meekly beneath him, her hands tightly hugging Yi Yunzhou. Yunzhou, what if your boss finds out that we're like this on the set? Yi Yunzhou gasped and said brazenly, Han Sui, that woman, everyone in the entertainment industry knows how much she loves me. I can play around outside without any problem. I did love Yi Yunzhou. I used the resources of nearly half of the entertainment industry to support him alone. His acting skills were not good, so I invited the best actors to act with him and painstakingly cultivated his acting skills. I spent countless amounts of money and gradually helped him become a best actor. I indulged him when he was having affairs outside, and I would clean up after him even if he made huge mistakes. But now, My indulgence had become the capital of his arrogance. Jiang Shaowei smiled. She stretched out her sharp fingernails and pressed them against Yi Yunzhou's face. You'll love me as much as she loves you, right? Yi Yunzhou nodded, and his movements became more intense. Jiang Shaowei's fingers exerted force, scratching a long scar on Yi Yunzhou's handsome and fair face. Blood kept oozing out. Yi Yunzhou quickly covered his face and looked at Jiang Shaowei in shock. Shaowei, what are you doing? I have a scene to shoot tomorrow. Jiang Shaowei's eyes were seductive. Tell me, is your scene more important, or am I? Yi Yunzhou changed a shocked expression and pounced on Jiang Shaowei again, kissing her neck. Of course you're more important. If I can't shoot the scene well, I can just pay the penalty. Anyway, Han Sui, that old woman, has spent more than that on me. Yi Yunzhou, relying on my love for him, casually wasted my resources and squandered my money, even his face, which was the most important thing for this drama. He allowed others to scratch. But do you really think I can't live without you, Yi Yunzhou? Outside the film set, I coughed softly, and a clear sound reached Yi Yunzhou's ears. He immediately got up from Jiang Shaowei, his face full of smiles, and nestled in my arms. The long hair at his temples rubbed against my jaw. He used to act coquettishly like this to please me. I gently lifted his chin, and his handsome and fair face instantly evoked my memories. But that conspicuous scar left an unbridgeable gap between him and my memories. He said in a babyish voice, Sui Sui, Jia, why did you suddenly come to the film set today? I averted my eyes, trying not to look at the scar. Humph, if I didn't come, did you want the whole film set to be on thee? He knew very well what he had done, and relying on my love for him to smooth things over for him, he was unscrupulous. If sister doesn't like it, I'll break up with her. I pinched his face. Sister, it hurts. I ignored his plea for mercy and said in an extremely cold tone, Humph, break up with this one and then find another one. Right, no, he almost begged, holding the hand that was pinching his face. Sister's fingers are dirty. He put my fingers, which were stained with foundation, into his mouth and sucked them clean. My eyes were still cold. Yi Yunzhou, how long are you going to keep flirting around outside? You keep breaking my heart. He was frightened by my tone, and his eyes were full of fear. How could I break sister's heart? Everyone knows that sister and I are a perfect match. My anger subsided slightly, and the murderous look between my brows lessened a bit. Jiang Shaowei's coquettish voice reached my ears. Yunzhou, what are you doing outside? The bed is getting cold. Yunzhou, what an affectionate way to call him. Yi Yunzhou noticed the displeasure on my face. He stretched his head and shouted into the room, Sui Sui, Jia is here today. I have something to do, so I won't come over for now. I came to the film set to visit not only for Yi Yunzhou but also for other things, so I warned him. Sister doesn't care if you play around outside, but don't cause me any trouble. He nodded repeatedly and lowered his head. Yes, yes, I promise I won't cause sister any trouble. I went to other parts of the film set to visit. This drama was of great significance to me. It was a gift to that man in heaven. The scheduled release time was his death anniversary. It was also the day when I completely fell in love with him. I went to the props group and looked at some of the fire-related props they made. To ensure shooting safety, I asked the crew members to show me how the props worked. They found an open space, spilled gasoline, and used a lighter to ignite the raging flames. In the flames, I seemed to see his figure, noble and great, rushing into the fire to save me. At that time, I was a chemistry postgraduate at Zhejiang University, and he was my senior. Gu Hongfei. Late at night, I was rushing an experiment in the laboratory. After staying up for several days and dealing with difficult experiments, I accidentally put the wrong reagent, and a big fire ignited instantly. I thought I was going to die on the spot. In the tongues of fire, Gu Hongfei rushed in and carried me in his arms like a princess. He stumbled out of the laboratory, but when we were about to walk out of the door, he was hit by a suddenly collapsing beam. At the critical moment, he used all his strength to push me out of the door, and his watch was also brought out with me. In the crackling of the raging fire, I heard a voice from heaven, Han Sui, I love you. Instantly, despair, love, regret, and melancholy swept over my heart. So, the senior I had always looked up to loved me deeply. At the last moment of his life, he snatched me from the hands of death with his own life. The crew put away the props. As the flames gradually died down, his figure also disappeared. A crew member reminded me, Ms. Han, why are you crying? This sentence brought me back to reality from my memories. I rubbed my tear-filled eyes. Oh, it's okay, the flames were too big just now, and they made my eyes water. After tidying up, I returned to the villa the next day. The story of Yi Yunzhou and Jiang Shaowei directly topped the day's trends. The title was Love That Extends from the Drama to Real Life. This time, the drama fans are in luck. Everyone knew that Yi Yunzhou and I were a couple. Those who shipped Yi Yunzhou and Jiang Shaowei directly rushed to leave messages on my Weibo. The Weibo post was a photo of Yi Yunzhou and me having a meal. He was feeding me. Yi Yunzhou and Jiang Shaowei are a perfect match. You old woman, let him go. With your looks, you don't deserve to be in a CP with my Yunzhou. Gidge. I looked at this Weibo post that had become a hot topic. I flipped through my photo album and found a photo of Yi Yunzhou nestled in my arms. He looked so cute, and I was gently kissing his forehead. For a moment, the public opinion changed direction, and everyone was now shipping the love between Yi Yunzhou and me. Some rational fans listed all the things I had done for Yi Yunzhou, from his debut, to getting one big production script after another, until he became a best actor. It was all me supporting him behind the scenes. Ms. Han has done so much for Yi Yunzhou. They are the real lovers. You brainless fans should stop. Jiang Shaowei is just a pretty face. What ability does she have to compete with Ms. Han? What has she done? I thought I had reversed the public opinion, but what happened next was beyond my expectation. Yi Yunzhou posted a Weibo with a photo of him and Jiang Shaowei together. The caption was, "Shaowei is not the other woman." For a moment, my Weibo inbox was flooded with messages. I turned my phone to silent, closing my eyes and thinking about Yi Yunzhou. He had played me more than once. This time, I wanted to let go. Soon, Yi Yunzhou called me and explained why he had said that. "Sis, actually, I've always loved you. You and I are the right match. It's just that Shaowei has just debuted, and this drama can bring her a lot of traffic. I'm just forming a screen CP with her. Don't take it to heart." I just softly replied, and then hung up the phone, calling her Shaowei so affectionately, as if Yi Yunzhou was enduring for his career. I flipped through the photos taken with Yi Yunzhou on my phone. He was smiling so brightly, and the corners of my mouth also slightly curved into a smile. The past was beautiful. Let Yi Yunzhou stay in my memories forever. I couldn't keep indulging him like this. I rummaged through the bedside table and found that Gu Hongfei's watch was missing. That was the only item he left in the world and an important prop for this drama. I thought it should be with Yi Yunzhou since he was the lead actor. Then I called him. There were some strange sounds on the other end of the phone. It seemed that Jiang Shaowei was also with him. I ignored this and just asked, "Yunzhou, do you have my watch?" He knew how important this watch was to me. When I gave it to him, I repeatedly told him not to lose it. He said indifferently, "Oh, I don't know where I put it while filming. Let the crew buy a new one tomorrow." I tried to suppress my anger, gritted my teeth, and said, "Don't you know what this watch means to me? Go find it for me right now." Yi Yunzhou still didn't realize the seriousness of the matter and remained indifferent. "It's just a broken watch. I can buy one right away with 50 yuan. During the conversation, there were also some rising and falling gasps. I completely exploded and shouted at Yi Yunzhou over the phone, "Get out and find it for me right now. Don't make me say it again." Yi Yunzhou finally realized the seriousness of the situation. I put down the phone, feeling uneasy, and went out to drive straight to the film set. When I arrived at the film set, I saw that all the crew members were lowering their heads and apologizing. I knew these people were just intimidated by Yi Yunzhou on a daily basis. Losing the watch wasn't their fault. I walked through the crowd, my eyes fixed on Yi Yunzhou. He was standing with Jiang Shaowei beside him, trembling all over. "Where's the watch?" I asked Yi Yunzhou coldly. I don't know where I put it." Yi Yunzhou lowered his head and said in a trembling voice, "Go find it for me right now." I almost shouted frantically. The entire crew had never seen me so crazy and were all trembling with fear. At this time, Jiang Shaowei muttered softly, "It's just a watch. What's all the fuss about? The whole crew is apologizing." Her voice reached my ears. I walked up to her, gently raised my index finger, and pointed at her nose. "From now on, the lead actress of this drama is replaced. You're fired." Jiang Shaowei looked at me in shock. She thought this role was hers and that only she could play it. She never expected that I would dismiss her so easily. Yi Yunzhou stood in front of her and begged me, "Sis, Shaowei didn't mean to say that. She's in the rising stage of her career. You know how important this drama is to her." Jiang Shaowei was almost in tears. Seeing Yi Yunzhou standing in front of her, her expression improved a bit, but to everyone's shock, the finger I raised slowly moved in front of Yi Yunzhou, and I said in a cold tone, "You're also fired, Yi Yunzhou." As soon as these words were spoken, the air seemed to freeze. Everyone thought that I was crazy in love with Yi Yunzhou and would forgive him no matter what mistakes he made. No one expected that I would fire the popular best actor, the company's top artist, just because of a watch. Yi Yunzhou instantly knelt down. The always proud best actor was now kneeling at my feet, constantly begging me, "Sis, I really know I was wrong. I will definitely find the watch. Please believe me. I need this drama and the company. Don't do this, okay?" The emotions that had been suppressed finally burst out at this moment. I roared hysterically, "Yi Yunzhou, I treated you so well. When your acting skills were poor, I invited teachers for you. When you slept with your fans, I did public relations for you. I even helped you become a best actor. Why do you keep breaking my heart again and again?" The entire film set could hear my helpless and sad cries. Yi Yunzhou tightly hugged my leg. He was like an abandoned puppy, crying and begging me, "Sis, I didn't mean to. It was all Jiang Xiaowei. She thought this watch didn't match me, so she threw it away and said she would give me a new one." Jiang Xiaowei's expression froze. At this moment, Yi Yunzhou seemed so strange to her, as if she had never really known this man. "Threw it away. Where did you throw it?" I seemed to see a glimmer of hope. "Just in the trash can on the film set. It should still be there and hasn't been thrown away yet." "Then why don't you go and find it right now?" I kicked him hard in the chest. Yi Yunzhou, with Jiang Xiaowei, lay in front of the trash cans on the film set and rummaged through them one by one. Finally, he brought the dirty watch to me. I recognized it was Gu Hongfei's watch at a glance. I had seen it thousands of times and remembered every mark and scratch on it clearly. Yi Yunzhou's face was full of smiles. "Sis, I found the watch for you. I can still play the role in this drama, right?" I was so focused on the watch that I didn't hear what Yi Yunzhou was saying at all. He and Jiang Xiaowei knelt at my feet, and he repeated that sentence. I gave him a cold look and stepped on his fair face with my foot. "Yi Yunzhou, do you think I can't love anyone but you?" He was kicked to the ground by me. In his pleading eyes, there was a bit more resentment and hatred at that moment. I asked the crew members to throw out all of Yi Yunzhou's belongings. His contract with the company was terminated as of today. I was his agent myself, and even if I tore up the contract in advance, I didn't need to compensate him with any money. From movies to TV dramas, variety shows to commercial performances, I took back all his resources. I wanted to completely break off this abnormal relationship with Yi Yunzhou and get my life back on track. A few days later, I attended a company party. This party was to discuss the two lead actors of this drama, but unexpectedly, Yi Yunzhou was also there. He got in touch with the HR of my company through some connections to strive for the chance to be the lead actor. I sneered, "You really are shameless." Those present were all shrewd people in the world of social relations. Naturally, they knew the conflict between Yi Yunzhou and me. They all tried to sit as far away from him as possible, but there were always a few odd ones who strongly recommended Yi Yunzhou to me. "Ms. Han, I heard that the role in the new drama you're shooting is tailor-made for Yi Yunzhou. As a best actor, Yi Yunzhou's acting skills are on point. He's the perfect choice." I looked up and down at the person who spoke. He was wearing an ill-fitting suit and talking like a swindler. I slowly exhaled a smoke ring and said to everyone, "We're creating a new drama with a huge investment. Not a low-cost online drama. We don't want just anyone to muddle through in this industry." This sentence was obviously aimed at the swindler-like person. He understood the subtleties of social relations and lowered his head. Remaining silent, I continued with hidden meaning. "Firstly, we need to do a good job in screening the crew. Secondly, some actors who become best actors with the help of capital not only have no real acting skills but also have one scandal after another. Such philandering third-rate actors are not suitable for the role of our drama." This sentence was clearly directed at Yi Yunzhou. He was sitting in the corner, his eyes dull, drinking alone in depression. At this time, a new actor, Dong Fengyu, walked up behind me, filled a glass of wine for me, and drank a glass himself first. "This glass of wine is to toast you, Ms. Han. You truly are an outstanding boss, and your comments on the entertainment industry are spot on." I smiled and took the wine he handed me, looking him up and down. Seeing that he was imposing and had an extraordinary appearance, I couldn't help but ask curiously, "What's your name?" He clasped his hands. "My surname is Dong Feng, and my name is Yu. Thank you for your attention, Ms. Han. If I could work with you, it would be the greatest blessing in my life." I smiled. He was quite good at talking. I drank a glass with him. Those shrewd people present, seeing that I had some favor towards Dong Fengyu, raised their glasses to him one after another. Flattering words poured out. As the saying goes, there are always talented people emerging. Young Master Dong Feng is really a man of talent. Ms. Han is also blessed in disguise. Come on, let's celebrate Ms. Han finding another capable actor. Dong Fengyu was not shy. He accompanied everyone in drinking. After several rounds of drinking, He still didn't change color. This kid is quite interesting. After several rounds of drinking, only Yi Yunzhou was sitting alone, with no one drinking with him or even caring about him. He sat in the corner, looking sad, drinking cup after cup by himself and sighing. Finally, when we were almost done drinking, he suddenly stood up, picked up his glass, and faced me. Sis, I know you don't like me in your heart, but for this drama, I believe no one can act better than me. My expression was displeased, and my tone was cold. Yi Yunzhou, I've spent a lot of money on cultivating you over the years. What else do you want from me? He drank a glass by himself and asked me, Sister, can you forgive me like you did in the past? My cold heart didn't show any sign of softening. You only want my forgiveness. What about resources, the best actor title, and the lead role? You don't want any of these. He looked at me firmly and drank another glass of wine. Yes, I only want Sister to forgive me. I don't want anything else. Looking at his flushed face from drinking, I agreed. Okay, post on Weibo that Jiang Xiaowei is the other woman. And list all the female stars and fans you've slept with, so that the world can see what kind of person you are, then I'll forgive you. He looked a bit panicked. No, this will ruin Xiaowei. She's already gone to another company to apply as an artist. I squeezed the wine glass. Well, if that's the case, if there's nothing else, please leave. Don't you realize that no one cares about you? In the past, with his status as a best actor and my love, Yi Yunzhou was the center of attention. Wherever he went, now, he had become like a rat that everyone shouted at. Aren't you pitiful? After several rounds of drinking, the male lead was decided. The other candidates who came to compete at this wine party left one after another. They knew they couldn't compete and were quite sensible. I was a bit drunk, and Dongfeng Yu helped me to the car unexpectedly. Yi Yunzhou followed us. He followed me to the car. The place where Dongfeng Yu was sitting was originally Yi Yunzhou's. He came over with the smell of alcohol and asked me, Sis, what exactly do you want me to do? You used to indulge me all the time, but why did you turn me into this just because of a watch this time? I slightly raised my eyes, looked at Yi Yunzhou, and said coldly, didn't you already know that you're just a substitute? After saying that, I told the driver to drive away. Yi Yunzhou's figure became smaller and smaller in the night until it disappeared. Dongfeng Yu was a new graduate who got the male lead role as soon as he debuted, and it was a drama with a huge investment. Everyone knew he was my new favorite. I gave Dongfeng Yu all the resources, including movies and TV shows, that originally belonged to Yi Yunzhou. His performance lived up to expectations, although his acting skills were a bit raw. With the guidance of the teachers, he could quickly get into the role in a trance. I faintly felt the presence of that man in his performance. He was imposing, knowledgeable, and had a great figure. I thought that maybe this time I had really doted on the right person. I used to be crazy in love with Yi Yunzhou only because his appearance was highly similar to that man's, but in terms of his character and personality, I couldn't feel the slightest bit of that man's presence. Dongfeng Yu gave me a feeling from the bottom of his bones that was highly consistent with that man. I loved Dongfeng Yu deeply for the trial acting part. Dongfeng Yu's performance satisfied me and the whole crew. However, we couldn't find a suitable female lead for the opposite role. Due to the lack of a suitable female lead, the entire crew was proceeding slowly. Without a female lead, many important scenes couldn't continue. Tonight, just after Dongfeng Yu finished filming, an unexpected guest came. Yi Yunzhou. His eyes looking at Dongfeng Yu were full of jealousy and anger. This role originally belonged to him. I could fully understand his feelings at this moment, but I would never forgive him. He walked up to me and looked at me with resentful eyes. I asked coldly, what are you doing here? I heard that this drama still doesn't have a female lead. What does my drama have to do with you? In the past, he was the male lead in all my dramas. Now, it had nothing to do with him. I was very afraid that he would do something crazy, but what I never expected was that he could be so thick-skinned. I want to fight for a chance for Xiaowei. The moment he said this, I felt a bit of admiration. I admired that. Even though he was in a difficult situation himself, he was still thinking about Jiang Xiaowei. I became interested immediately. Oh, I'd like to see how you can give her a chance. He started talking non-stop, like reading a script, saying a lot of good things about Jiang Xiaowei. Xiaowei didn't do anything wrong. For this drama, she stays up until the early morning every night to study the script. She's hard-working. She even imitates your speech and behavior every day because she knows that the prototype of this drama is actually you. He said a lot. Even that Jiang Xiaowei knew this was my story. I had never told anyone about my past. I stretched out my hand to interrupt him. Since she's so eager to study the script and get into the role, doesn't she know how deeply I loved him? Doesn't she know how important that only watch is to me? She threw that watch into the trash without any pity. She didn't study the role well at all. My tone was almost hysterical as I forcefully poured out my inner unhappiness. Yi Yunjo was obviously startled by my sudden question. He was stunned for a long time. Apparently, he had never thought about why I was so angry because of a watch, because he didn't know how important that man was to me. Yi Yunjo thought it was his own charm that made me love him hopelessly. What an ordinary but confident man. Now, when I saw him, especially his scratched face, I felt more and more disgusted. He started to show his so-called self-confidence again. Xiaowei has just debuted. She has a great future ahead. This drama is really important to her. For my sake, give her another chance. Please, sis. I reached out and pinched the scar on his face, my tone icy cold. Why should I give her this chance? Because of your scratched face. Yi Yunjo suddenly knelt down in front of me. He was crying rather embarrassedly. Sister, so you only loved my face. In the past, I loved and spoiled you because you had a face exactly like his, but now that your face is scarred, how can you compare with the man I've been longing for? Yi Yunjo didn't force it anymore. He stood up, dusted himself off, and turned around to leave silently. At this time, Dong Fengyu walked up to me and put his arm around my slightly trembling body. It turned out that he had seen the whole scene, and from our conversation, he also learned that the prototype of this drama was me. He sniffed my hair and said to me, Sis, the prototype of this drama is you. Why don't you play the role yourself? His words were like a bolt of lightning, instantly making me see the light. Yeah, why don't I play the role myself? But my appearance now can't compare with my younger self. How can I play a 20-year-old girl? Dong Fengyu patted my shoulder, giving me great encouragement. Sis, you loved that man so deeply. Only you can play the female lead role well. No one else can understand your state of mind. Moreover, your skin is so well maintained that you look like a girl in her early 20s on camera. His words really touched me, and I decided to go for an audition tomorrow. The audition result was unexpectedly good. I felt like I was back to my younger self. I was busy and confused in the laboratory, often forgetting to wipe the sweat from my forehead. This drama soon started filming in full swing. Since the script had played out countless times in my mind, the filming progress was very fast, and my state was as good as ever. I was fully immersed in the script, and Yi Yunjo was gradually left behind in my mind. One late night, I was driving home from the film set. The rain was pattering down, and the road conditions were a bit hard to see. There seemed to be a figure walking towards me in front. I hit the brakes hard. Fortunately, the car's performance was good, so I didn't hit him. I was about to curse him for courting death the moment the car lights illuminated the figure. I was stunned. The figure was actually Gu Hongfei, my boy, but soon reality gave me a blow. The scar on his face told me that it was just Yi Yunjo. He was standing in the rain, blocking my car. His hair was wet from the rain and stuck to his face. He walked closer and patted the car window. Sis, I've done what you said. Open Weibo and take a look. I was so busy with the film set affairs that I hardly had time to look at my phone. When I opened Weibo, the #1 trending topic was actually the self-exposure of the best actor Yi Yunjo. Jiang Xiaowei is the other woman, and best actor Yi Yunjo played around with female stars. The words "played around" were in double quotes. It turned out that the only person Yi Yunjo had a relationship with was Jiang Xiaowei. The others were just used to attract my attention. He leaned against the car window and said, I've never had a relationship with a third party. I just wanted to prove that you loved me, not just treating me as a substitute. I opened the car door and let Yi Yunjo get into the car. He shivered. The temperature in the car dispelled the chill on his body. Before he could get warm, he started to explain to me, Sis, actually, I've known for a long time that I'm just a substitute. The rumors about me having relationships with others were all made up by me. I just wanted to prove that you loved me, not because of my face. These words really took me by surprise. Looking at his face and the scar that was almost healed, a feeling of love rose in my heart again. Sure enough, I still couldn't resist this face. I drove back to my home. I took out a clean set of clothes for Yi Yunjo and told him to go take a bath. When he came out wrapped in a bathrobe, I fell for him all over again. I gently tugged at the belt of the bathrobe, and he fell into my arms. The whole company knew that I had started spoiling Yi Yunjo again. Those who had laughed at and belittled him were now being obsequious. I gave half of the resources that were originally for Dong Fengyu to Yi Yunjo. After the previous lesson, he became more dedicated in his acting career. This time his acting skills improved significantly, and he no longer mouthed the lines in the crew like before. Finally, he was able to land one high-quality script after another through his own efforts. Dong Fengyu, on the other hand, was not affected by this at all. He still acted well with me every day and was the most serious in the crew. Sometimes I thought my life was perfect. On one side was Dong Fengyu, who had the same personality as Gu Hongfei, and on the other side was Yi Yunzhou, who looked exactly the same. My boy had, in a way, become two boys, accompanying me day and night. After being exposed by Yi Yunzhou, Jiang Shaowei became a disgraced artist. The small companies that had originally signed her now dared not use her, and her acting career was ruined. She became down and out. One day, she came to me and handed me a data card. She said, "I found this in Yi Yunzhou's computer. I think you should know about this." After that, she turned around and left. I went home and inserted the USB drive. On the screen were two identical people. No, my boy, my Gu Hongfei. No, the card that Jiang Shaowei gave me finally let me know the whole story of that incident. That night, I cried under the covers for a long time and hated for just as long. I cried all night until my eyes were red and my tear ducts could no longer secrete tears. The next day, the entire crew had to stop for a whole day because of my swollen eyes that wouldn't go down. Dong Fengyu asked me what was wrong, and I just made an excuse that I didn't sleep well, because some things, when they surface in another way, can be even more devastating. I started to strongly promote Yi Yunzhou, diverting all of Dong Fengyu's resources to him. I threw all my resources at Yi Yunzhou. I used all my connections in the entertainment industry, determined to make Yi Yunzhou win the next Best Actor award. Everyone was puzzled as to why I suddenly became so good to Yi Yunzhou. Yi Yunzhou thought that his efforts had deeply touched me. He came to me and said to me confidently, "I knew that, sis, you love me. You doted on Dong Fengyu just to stimulate me, just like I did with Jiang Shaowei." I moved my lips. "Yes, I love you. I've lost myself in love." Yi Yunzhou still didn't realize the seriousness of the situation at this moment. He tried to be intimate with me, but I firmly refused. Looking at his confused eyes, I held back my anger, waiting for the final moment to completely shatter his hopes. Dong Fengyu, upon me revoking all his resources, just respected my decision. He said, "Everything I have was given to me by sis. If one day you want to take it back, I won't complain." The movie that Dong Fengyu and I shot was soon completed. The movie was called Sway Sway Drifting with the Wind. I hoped that if Hongfei had a spirit in heaven, he could see my heart. The big budget movie that Yi Yunzhou shot with all my resources was also completed, and they were released in the same time period. Both movies received unanimous praise. Soon, it was time for the awarding ceremony of the 37th China Film Festival's Best Actor. The two competitors this time were Dong Fengyu and Yi Yunzhou. Everyone thought that this time, the Best Actor award would surely go to Yi Yunzhou. He had my strong support behind him at this moment. The two of them were sitting on either side of me. When it was time for the award giving, Yi Yunzhou seemed restless, eagerly anticipating the award. Dong Fengyu was calm. After acting in this movie, he had completely immersed himself in the role of Gu Hongfei, and even his personality had changed accordingly. At this moment, just as the host was about to announce the winner, a video suddenly started playing on the screen behind. This video was from the memory card that Jiang Shaowei gave me. In the video, there were two people who looked exactly the same. One was Gu Hongfei, and the other was Yi Yunzhou. Yi Yunzhou secretly tampered with things in my laboratory, which was why the fire broke out. When Gu Hongfei saw this, he immediately rushed over to save me. When Yi Yunzhou saw this scene, his whole body froze. He stared straight at the screen, his face ashen. The 37th Best Actor award was rightfully given to Dong Fengyu, and this was also the result I wanted. At the moment when Yi Yunzhou was full of hope, he saw the footage of his crime. How desperate he must have felt inside. Amidst the commotion in the audience, he slumped to the ground. Yi Yunzhou's original name was Gu Hongzhou, and he was Gu Hongfei's younger brother. Many years ago, he knew that his brother, Gu Hongfei, also loved me in his heart. What he wanted was to destroy the woman his brother loved. Jiang Shaowei smiled. She stretched out her sharp fingernails and pressed them against Yi Yunzhou's face. Yi Yunzhou was sentenced to life imprisonment. At the last moment before he was sent to prison, I went to see him. "So you wanted to kill me? You knew I loved your brother. And you never loved me at all." His face was ashen, and he nodded. "Oh, and I want to tell you one more thing. Besides Jiang Shaowei, I slept with all those female stars and fans. I was lying to you before. You were just trying to get some resources from me, right?" He nodded. "Yes, I've always had a dream of being an actor. Since I knew you became a boss, I came to you. No wonder on the night I first met him, I saw him following me all the time. I thought Gu Hongfei had come back. It turned out that all of this was just a trap he set." "It's over. It's all over." Sway Sway Drifting with the Wind was a huge success both in terms of word of mouth and box office. I took the CD of this movie and came to Gu Hongfei's grave. I gently placed the CD in front of his tombstone. At this moment, the dark clouds dispersed, and the golden warm sun shone down obliquely along the tombstone. It fell on the CD, and the CD immediately became colorful. Those scenes were all the memories between me and Gu Hongfei. I thought that using this movie to mourn you was my greatest sentiment. I also used this movie to end my yearning. I should return to a normal life and find my lover in this world. I loved you so much that I fell into Yi Yunzhou's trap again. Yearning should exist in memories, and love should exist in the present. Hongfei, I won't forget you, but I want to end this endless yearning. At this moment, a scene emerged on the CD in the warm sun. In the scene, Gu Hongfei was smiling, looking at me, waving vigorously, and then disappeared in the sun. The CD returned to normal. I also packed my bags and embraced my happiness.